Let's create some paper snowflakes. For this, you'll need a piece of square white paper, a pencil, some scissors, and then some coloring supplies to decorate your snowflake after. To get started, we need to fold our paper in half first. So I'm folding it from one side to the other. It doesn't matter which sides you choose to meet because this is a square. Then I'm going to keep it folded and I'm going to take one of the shorter sides, doesn't matter which one, fold it across and have it meet the other shorter side. Now your paper should look like a smaller square. I'm going to again keep it folded and I'm going to take two of the opposite corners and have them meet together by making one more fold. Now my paper looks like a triangle and I'm going to keep it folded while I'm working on my snowflake. When you make your fold, make sure you make a nice crisp crease here. So I'm pressing down hard with my finger to make my crease nice. Then our next step is drawing some shapes that we can cut out. We can do this on all three sides of our snowflake. When you're drawing shapes, you want to keep them simple enough for you to cut out. The more shapes you have, the more interesting your snowflake will be. If you have any teeny tiny shapes like that, then that's going to be really hard to cut out. So keep them at least as big as your finger. When you're drawing your shapes, you don't want to draw a shape all the way across your paper because you're going to end up cutting your snowflake in half. It also makes it more interesting if you have shapes that go into the middle. You can also cut the ends off and make them a little bit round. So now when I start cutting, I'm keeping my paper folded and I'm cutting around the shapes that I drew. When you're cutting, you're going to be using your art muscles in your hands because this paper is a little bit thicker than usual because we folded it. So you're going to have to cut slowly and carefully to cut through the thicker paper. And when I'm cutting, I'm being careful not to cut all the way across here because if I kept going, then I would cut my snowflake in half. Now the fun part is opening up your snowflake after you've cut. So I'm carefully opening up the paper and being careful not to pull it because it could rip since some of it's very thin. Awesome, there is my snowflake. Notice how the corners are square. If you open up your snowflake and you want to cut a little bit more, you can fold it back the way that it was and do a little more cutting. I think I would like this to be rounded instead of square, so I'm cutting a round edge here, and I'm going to see what it looks like when I open it up. I think I'm also going to cut a rounded edge here. Let's see what that looks like. Remember, if you want to cut a little bit more, you have to put your snowflake back together in the way that it was folded. I think that looks better. Let's try another one. So remember, start with a square piece of paper, fold one side to meet the other side across. So you're folding your paper in half, then fold the two shorter sides together. You're making a small square when you do this, then fold one corner to the opposite corner across from it. And then you should have a triangle shape. After, you can draw the shapes that you want to cut out. Remember, the smaller the shapes are, the harder that they're going to be to cut out. So try to keep your shapes easy for you to cut. And then I could start cutting. Remember that you don't want to cut all the way across your snowflake. For example, if I forgot that I shouldn't cut all the way across and I cut my snowflake like this, now my snowflake is cut in half and it's not going to be very big. But if I open it up, I would have a smaller piece of paper that kind of looks like a snowflake. But you might not be very happy with that. So remember, do not cut across the triangle. Let's try that one more time. Fold two sides together, so you're folding your square in half. Then fold the two shorter sides together so you have a small square. And then fold two corners, doesn't matter which ones, so that they meet and you have a triangle shape. And then draw shapes that you are able to cut out. Remember to draw some on each side so that you end up with a unique looking snowflake and that your shapes are balanced. You could use simple shapes like triangles or half circles. And then use your art muscles to cut through the thick paper because it is folded. Now let's open it up and see what this snowflake looks like. Ooh, that's pretty awesome. When you're doing this, you're going to end up with a lot of little paper scraps. Please make sure that you pick up all of your little paper scraps and throw them away. The next step is decorating your snowflake. So notice that on one side, you're going to have pencil lines from where you drew your shapes. Make that the back of your snowflake and write your name somewhere in pencil where you can see it. So I'm going to write my name right here. Don't forget to write your class code, which is your room number, and if you have a letter for your art group. Then you can flip it over and we can start adding designs to our snowflake. When I'm drawing designs, I'm using some metallic silver right now, but I'm going to do this to all the sides of my snowflake. So notice how I have this sort of triangle shape on both sides. I drew my line design on both sides. And then again, I'm doing it on the opposite side. This is using symmetry when we draw our designs. You could do things like lines, dots, shapes, whatever you can think of. Also, we have these glitter markers. These work a little differently than a typical marker. If you shake it, you can hear a little bead inside that is pushing the glitter ink to the end of the marker. So when you're drawing with these, you just want to press very gently on the tip of the marker. Sometimes you need to press it up and down to get a little bit more of the ink out. Also, these need a few minutes to dry. They're kind of like a paint pen. So if you put your hand over it, it's going to smear. So I would be very careful when I add this to my snowflake. And I'm not using these to color in an entire area of my snowflake. I'm just using them to draw lines and little designs with. Okay, so I'm all done adding designs to my snowflake. I use lots of blues, purples, golds, and silvers, but you can use any colors that you like. I hope you had fun learning how to make a paper snowflake and adding some designs to it. I can't wait to see how yours turns out.